Hey, John, it's Pat in West Palm Beach, Florida.
What's going on, man? Ooh, West Palm Beach. It's steamy down there right now, I heard. A little even warm for Florida, right?
Yeah, it's disgusting here. It really is. But I have to warn you that there's a point in the Texas A&M game that you're overlooking.
Oh, I love it. What is it?
A&M has a better coach than we do. And we know that because when he was at Duke last year, he outcoached Freeman. He had an inferior roster. He took the Irish to the last play of the game. And with a better roster, my fear is he's going to make Freeman look the fool again.
Ooh.
And I was in favor of the Freeman hire.
Ooh.
But let's be honest here. Freeman took a team, unlike Holt, unlike Kelly, etc. He took a team that was averaging 1.5 losses per season, and he's turned it into a team that's losing 3.5 games a year. Now, I want to see the guys succeed. We got to be real. If we're going to hire a coordinator, we should have hired Elko, not Freeman.
And there was talk about that when he was doing a good job as DC, and there was talk about, and I know I said it on my show. It was before Freeman was even a thing in our minds, and I was going, just hire Elko. At least he's not a jerk, and I love what he does with the defense, and he runs a tight operation. Okay, I like this. This is juicy. So let me give you the other side of this. Okay, let's balance it out, and I want you to respond. I like this. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. So even if you agree, Elko, and we all agree, I think, I respect the hell out of Mike Elko. I really do respect him a lot. And I think he's a really good guy too. And I have total respect for him. Even if you go with the theory that he's a better coach or whatever now, and maybe Freeman gets there when he has more tenure, whatever, I don't know. But I'm worried about this game in 12, 13 weeks, right? Fine. Is there no balance effect because it's game one, year one for Elko, and no matter how good of a coach you are, things are still a little bit in disarray, and you're not really sure what you have week one, year one of a new operation when you had 30 guys enter the portal and you got 28 back. How do you account for the instability of year one, week one, no matter how good of a coach he is? That would be a fair question I pose to you.
But here's the X factor. No one knows Riley Leonard better than Elko.
It's true.
He knows that kid's weaknesses better than anybody.
It's true.
He's going to make him look the fool.
Oh, I hope not. Now, okay.
I hope I'm wrong too.
We got a cat and mouse game. Then you got to say, Mike Denbrock, we brought you in here and you're the highest paid offensive coordinator in the country to play a high level game of intellectual football chess with Mike Elko and be able to figure out that he knows what Riley's going to want to do and try and do that. And then you have a workaround for it. Like, is that where we're headed, into a high level coordinator chess game here?
I'll take Elko on that chess game. And I'll be honest with you. I remember Denbrock when he was at ND. He got fired. You know that, right? The 2014 offense at ND that Denbrock led fell apart, where Everett Golson regressed. I mean, look, I know I'm in the minority here, but Denbrock has a lot to prove, in my opinion. And I say that because LSU just had, I think, 2 first-round wide receivers, and the Heisman winner, or guy who should have won the Heisman, throwing the ball. I mean, that was a super talented team, and maybe Denbrock recruited those guys. I don't think he did. I think they came before. I think they were before him. But the point, and I'll give him credit. Look, he had great players and he got great results. However, I've seen Denbrock at ND before, and I didn't weep when he left the first go around. I just didn't.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable point. There were more problems than just Denbrock with like Notre Dame at that point. So I think I would want to consider the big picture of everything in the mix there. And then let me address the other part of what you said and give you a theory on that as well. And I've had more than one Notre Dame person talk to me about this. The idea that Freeman inherited a 10 or 11 type win team, and then now we've regressed a little bit, and you could look at it that way, okay? I've had multiple people say to me, John, what if this is a situation where you got to take one step back to burn a lot of things down, to be able to build it up back good enough? You take 3 big steps forward. But when you're in that process, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. Like you got to burn it all to the floor. The Kelly having no depth and not developing nothing and whatever. Like that's an argument I've heard too, is you got to burn all that out and rebuild your depth and rebuild the mindset and all that. And we've been going through that process. So one step forward that's very painful to end up in a place where you could get further than you got under Kelly doing it that way. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that I was willing to take anything different than Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly, we're not winning. We're not winning. So we had to try something. What I'm saying is I've seen some troubling trends that I'm very concerned about Marcus Freeman, and I want him to win. But and I'm not going to rehash the 10 guys in the field, but just staying to the original point about the Duke game last year, which is the game we should all be really rewatching, right? Because it's Marcus Freeman versus Elko. And Freeman was saying at the end of that game that we should have kicked a field goal and had Estimate take a knee at the 1-yard line. And that's the kind of stuff that terrifies me. And I hope he kind of outgrows that sort of thing. But to the point you just made, I'm willing to lose 3 games the first couple of years if it gives us a chance at building something bigger.
Yeah.
Because Brian Kelly, we weren't going to win with that guy. We were not going to win with that guy. He should have been fired after the 2016 season. At the latest, he should have been walked out. And I have to say something, though. And this really enrages me. Shame on that AD for not firing him back in 16. Swarbrick. Everybody gives that guy a pass. Why? We endured Kelly for another 5 years when Swarbrick should have walked that guy right out the door after the 2016 season. And what was Swarbrick's reward for that? Kelly slapped him across the face at the end of that 2021 season, left the program in a bind where we were a week away from being in the playoffs potentially, depending on how things shake out. And Kelly walks out. So my point is, I detest Swarbrick too. I don't detest him as much as I hate Kelly, and I'm glad we got somebody new. I'm just telling you that Elko's the real deal. He's not a shit kicker coach, pardon my French. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's got a better roster than he had at Duke, and he handled Freeman last year. And anybody that thinks we're going to steamroll A&M is just didn't watch the Duke game last year.
Here's one thing I do think is in play. If there's ever going to be the best time for Notre Dame to catch Mike Elko, it would be year 1, game 1, because however good or not good A&M is, they're going to be a lot more put together the following year opening in Notre Dame Stadium. Then you got him a full year. Then it'll be at our place, but they're going to be a lot better than whatever they're going to be when we play them in 12 weeks. I know that.
Yes. No, I think that's right. But one of the things I think that doesn't get mentioned enough is that, Notre Dame has always followed, and your friend Goolsby, I'm sure, can confirm this, has always followed the NCAA rules when it comes to practice time. The SEC doesn't pay even the slightest attention to that. Those guys are working in NFL. Those players at the SEC teams are working NFL schedules.
Yeah. And guess what? There's not a lot of science classes built into that schedule, I don't think.
No, of course not. But it allows a team to gel quicker when they have much more practice time than their opponent.
Yeah. No, hey, listen, man, I'm open to everything you're saying. Like, I don't find it totally ridiculous. Some of the chatters are disagreeing with you big time. I believe what you're contending could be reasonable. Like, I could, there are a lot of things there. The Mike Elko thing, knowing Leonard, that's a big deal. That is a big, big deal. He knows where that kid reverts to in his mind when there's pressure. He knows like what the guy does in every situation. You're right, man. I can't disagree with you on that.
No, I just hope Denbrock is the real deal. I hope I'm wrong about him, and it wasn't all LSU talent dumping all those points on the board last year. And Denbrock, look, even if it was, Denbrock gets credit for it, right? Because
that's the way it goes.
The team, and you get the credit. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
But Denbrock better bring his A game, and he better look at that Duke tape because he's going to have a hell of a lot better athlete. I mean, Duke was whipping us on the line of scrimmage. They had a defensive lineman, and I forget his name, that Notre Dame. He transferred out of Notre Dame because he couldn't get any playing time. I forget what the guy's name was. But here he is, offensive line back, and I'm like, wow, that's a well-coached.
Let me ask this.
I came out of that.
Let me ask this.
I came out of that game saying, I'm not sure the better team won here. I don't think it did.
All right. How much?
The better team won that game.
How much of Notre Dame's Duke performance are you willing to concede may have been an emotional and physical hangover for what happened right before it? Do you think it's fair to say that had something to do with it?
No, I never buy into that. To me, that's garbage.
So you think every week is a standalone week and then there's no carryover of emotion, either good or bad, as far as momentum? It resets every week, win or loss, and there's no carryover? I don't know if I believe that.
I don't. I think that the role that emotion plays is greatly overstated. I think these young men
could be
devote so much time and energy into this.
You know what? You could be right on that. And I'm an emotional guy, so that makes sense why I think about that kind of thing more. I'm open to that. That may be true. And you know what? That's probably a question for Goolsby.
If anything, you should be in.
It's probably something I should ask Goolsby.
Look, when I went to ND, I wasn't a player. I was a student, right? When ND lost the game, they came back angrier the next week. In other words, they played better after getting beat. It's not like had they beat Ohio State and then they took Duke lightly, that would be one thing. But they didn't beat Ohio State. They lost that game. They should have been enraged taking the field against Duke. And they should have been enraged by a point spread that had those teams within a touchdown. It was a small spread. I forget what it was. They should have been taken out as an insult. Like, Duke is within a touchdown of us. We'll show you who the hell they are. But that's not what happened. So I don't really buy all that. To me, that was just a great game plan by Elko that shut down a good Notre Dame offense. And he's going to have athletes this time around. And, I don't know. I'm very concerned about the whole thing.
Man, it's interesting. I'm telling you, good call, though. You got a lot of people that disagree with you, but that doesn't mean it isn't a good call. It's well thought out. I totally understand where you're coming from. The people don't like it, but I think it's a good call. Fair to worry about. You bring up some good points. And then, you know what I want, man? I want you to save my number, give me a call back after the game, and hopefully go, John, my concerns were overblown and we pulled it off. That's what the call I want from you, man, in about 13 weeks.
I would love to have that call. I'd love to eat crow on this.
Oh, man, me too. But this is not a theory where I'm going, this is ridiculous. It's way out of left field. So I think I got to say, man, for a first call, pretty good job lighting it up on this one. Really like it, man. Anything on the way out? Thank you.
No, I love the show and keep it up.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Enjoy yourself there in Palm Beach. It's a beautiful place, though, man. Brother used to live there, and then they moved out a little ways. But what a beautiful place. Enjoy it, okay? Don't burn up, but enjoy it.
All right, take care, brother.
Have a good one.